Okay, thanks, Wendy. Great. Thanks for joining the webinar. I'm just going through the inside. These are not my slides, so Laura Green's put these slides together. They're a sort of combination of the ones that everyone's going to have for when they actually do the sheep focus farms. And obviously Lameness is the focus. But we're not interested you online at the moment probably know what's going on at least as well as I do. Certainly the eBlex office understand how the whole thing works, so these focus farms, and do contact someone at eBlex. They're brilliant and they'll be able to tell you details. But this is all RDPE skills framework funded by DEFRA and the EU. And this program is running for just about a year. And the project partners, FivePoint, ADAS, Dutchy Group down the southwest, and SAC Consulting, and then there are a couple of farms which eBlex are running. So, and it's delivering animal health and welfare training on these farms, and the priority is lameness. So that's why we're going through this webinar now. Now, I'm aware who's signed in or who's logging into the webinars, and there's a lot of you who are very usually experienced vets. So this webinar in no way telling people how to treat lameness. I realise everyone's quite aware of that. That the key bit of the webinar really is because they wanted consistency of the message, and that's where I want to go through it now. But I want to make it interactive, so please do type in your questions. Wendy will then interrupt me and read out questions as they come in. And I know that sometimes webinars can be really difficult. They're certainly difficult to present because you get no interaction. Keep interrupting. None of us want to just hear my voice for the next 2 hours without a bit of interaction. So please get involved. But anyway, the focus is lameness. The other sheep scab, infertility, parasites, mastitis, nutritional disorders. Each focus farm has their own thing that they're concentrating on, but I know a key thing for each one is that lameness wants to be tackled, which is why we're doing these. So this is the location of the focus farms. So the green ones are the SAC ones, the yellow ones are the eBlex ones, red are ADAS, pink ones are FivePoint, and the blue ones down the southwest are the Dutchy ones. And the meetings, I know one's already happened right down in Cornwall, but there are most people have got their first meeting in the next few weeks. We are doing some vet CPD on lameness sort of live, as it were, but those aren't for a couple of weeks, which is why we're doing this webinar just for those of you involved with the focus farms. So we're basically, and this is what you're doing on the farms, and we're concentrating with the lameness on using the 5-point plan. We've got some videos, we've got the lesion surveys, and then you'll feed back in the next meeting a couple of months on. So I'm quite sure you're all aware of the 5-point plan. It was hugely promoted last year by Farmers Weekly, and since then there's been agreement across from the Sheep Health and Welfare Group, eBlex, Farmers Weekly and FAI that we're trying to get out one message that is clear, so there's consistency basically. So this is just a summary of the 5-point plan, and that's what I mean about it being industry agreed. So instead of different people kind of having different messages coming out there, we're trying to all sort of stand behind it and say, let's focus on the 5-point plan and have one message for farmers. And the sort of nub of it is for these three action points: reducing disease challenge, building resilience, and establishing immunity. There's always debate around the importance of the different elements. I'm going to go around each of the elements in turn, so we'll have a chance to discuss that. You hear that noise the computer keeps making. Is that annoying? Can you just comment on that?
Fiona, sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
If that screen
Yes.
pops up again, if you just select the bottom option, it won't keep popping up again.
Ah, right, okay, right, I'll read it next time. And stop it. I was just, okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, back to the 5-point plan. Let's go on to, so FAI have had good evidence to show how using the 5-point plan has been very successful on their farm to tackle lameness. It certainly concentrates on foot rot, and we're very keen to include CODD in it, well aware that that's a problem on a lot of farms. But Ruth Clements, who's put the 5-point plan together, she'll be the first to admit that controlling lameness, right, go through this message again, sorry about that, hopefully it won't come back again. Yeah, as we all know, controlling lameness is a long-term commitment. I certainly went on one of the focus farms a week or two back, and crikey, he's got between 20 and 30% lameness on his farm. It's hideous. It's certainly a good place to start, and it's actually trying to convince him that we need to do something about it, amazingly. But yeah, be kind to sheep, be kind to yourself, and be realistic. And I think that means not only the farmer, but the vets as well, as what we can expect people to do. But also, we all know, and everyone have farms where we've got, people have made dramatic improvements in their lameness levels, and I certainly, the farm I went on recently where they had such high levels, I was staggered because I haven't seen such bad lameness for a long time, and lots of people are managing to cope with around, certainly less than 5% and often less than 2%. So it is possible. So we'll just go through each of the points of the 5-point plan in turn, and starting with cull. And there's certainly a bit of a debate on the, just flicking to the bottom of the slide, 2 strikes and she's out. I always used to say 3 strikes and she's out. After 3 cases of lameness, then you definitely want to cull. So I think 2 strikes and out is being particularly tough. I don't know if anyone's got any comments on that and wants to put something in the comment box. But certainly 2 or 3 strikes, but that, as we all know, depends on good recording, and I think that's one of the places where we don't have good cooperation often from farmers, that they will treat cases but they won't necessarily tag them or mark them, so we don't necessarily know which ones. And certainly when the time you want to cull them is at time of sound, as we all know, so is hopeless if you haven't marked them and you don't know which ones were lame. So I do think that's a bit of a problem, people. But it does make a huge difference if people do cull them and tag them so they know which to cull. So cull any that have treated for foot rot more than once, and I would include CODD in that as well, and anything with particularly badly misshapen feet, including replacement lambs. And arguably the most important thing for culling is if you're breeding your own replacements, but I think it makes a big difference, these persistently infected sheep, as just a focus of infection for the rest of the flock. So it's not just a breeding thing, it's just it's also to remove that constant reinfection for the rest of the flock. So yeah, 2 or 3 strikes, you're out. I don't know if anyone's commented on what they think about that, but that's a message that we're getting out there for this.
We've just had a comment from Ian come in, Fiona, and he said, in reality I think farmers will cull on a second case if bad, but if not, second case is mild, though the message promoted will influence greatly.
Yeah, okay, no, I think that's a fair point, Ian. And certainly we had this debate before with, if you've got a ewe with twin lambs at her and it's her second, no one's, you're not going to do anything until you've got to the point you're going to cull them, which are tagging. But yes, I think that's interesting as well what you're saying about this severe case, and in my opinion farmers, they have a tolerant, a trigger level where they consider lameness is lameness and it's pretty severe, they certainly wouldn't, I mean, we're going to look at mobility scoring in a minute, but a mild lameness, I don't think a lot of farmers, that doesn't count as a strike in their opinion. So I think it is an interesting thing to at least have the debate with them and have this same discussion with your farmers. And at least you won't have them in a webinar so you can actually discuss it, which would be good. So point 2, avoid spreading it. And one of the obvious things I always say is, for example, spreading lime around troughs or in gateways and stuff, but also just the handling and gathering.